Let's begin with the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we welcome everybody to this special Marion County Commission meeting on October 10th. We're very excited to have the leadership group with us today. This has been a program that we're very, very excited to get going again in the county. And just being able to sit in on the last few minutes has been very great. Great to hear the comments and the ideas that are being developed. So to start with, I'm going to have the commissioners introduce themselves, and then I'll have you introduce yourselves. We'll each do a little bit of background about what it is the commission does and what it means to each of us. And then the majority of our time give you a chance to ask us questions of what's important to you. So to kick off, I'm David Mueller. I was at the introduction class. I represent District 2. I think you have maps. So I've got north and east, and then the north half of the city of Marion. I'm a farmer, rancher from Tampa.
Ken Becker, 1st District, encompasses the west side of Marion County and about half of the city of Hillsborough. Retired banker.
Randy Dalkey, District 3 South. Got to see a few of you at the dinner the other day. Some of you didn't. I worked for Atmos Energy for 35 years and took care of a lot of Marion County. And before that, I was a railroader. I met my wife in high school at Peabody and married her and had 2 children. And been in Marion County and in this area most of my life. I was out of there for a few years, but we moved back and said, it's home. So just like that gentleman, move back and say it's home, and we've got to support it, and we want to support it. And I think we all are on the agreements that youth is where we need to bring things to. I mean, youth is, to me, is the foundation of tomorrow. So I'm done.
Very good. Thank you, Commissioner Dalkey. I'd like the commissioners to get a chance to meet each of you. So if we go around the room, introduce yourself, just a little bit about yourself, and maybe what the highlight's been so far of leadership. An on-the-spot question.
Yeah, Corey Brown. I moved to Tampa just over a year ago. Moved here from northeast of Topeka. I am a banker who works from home, deal mainly in agricultural banking, do compliance and risk management. And I think my favorite part of the sessions has just been touring the county and learning everything, all the different businesses and things like that are in Marion County that I had no idea about. So
Great. Lou?
I am Lou Turk. I've been in Marion 25 years. I'm West Virginia girl, raised from West by God, Virginia. Been in Kansas most of my life though. I'm the director of Marion County Department on Aging, and the older population are my passion. I love my old folks. So I think the one thing that I've enjoyed about the class is, I feel like, especially this class, we represent all the different towns of Marion County. And I too was surprised of all the businesses that are in Marion County that I had no idea. Like I said, I've been here 25 years, and a lot of places I had no idea. So that's been a huge asset to me. So, and in visiting with these guys, I think we've got a strong bond, and I think our friendship will continue after this. So, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Paige Barnes. I'm from Peabody. I am a 7th generation Peabodyan. Aside from 2 years living on an island off the coast of Maine, I've always lived in Marion County. I lived in Marion for a year. I lived in Hillsborough for a little bit at one time. I recently, about 3 months ago, switched over from a decade-long career in social work to philanthropy, and I'm now the associate director for Peabody Community Foundation. So I'm also serve on the school board for Peabody School District. And so this class has just kind of allowed me to get some different ways of thinking of things. that allow me to have a broader approach to some everyday questions that I'm asked. And yeah, meeting these guys has probably been the highlight. I'm not gonna get up and dance about it, but I'm sure, yeah, I've definitely gotten some friends out of it, and I think that in itself is one of the building blocks of Marion County, right?
Very good.
Connections.
Yes. My name's Cal Pendergrass. I'm originally from upstate New York. I joined the United States Army at 17 as an armored crime member and ended up staying in for 21 years. Retired here at Fort Riley in 2021. I got here in Kansas in 2014 timeframe. Moved down to Florence, and I'm an associate director for the Florence Community Foundation, also a city councilman in Florence.
Very good. What's the highlight been so far?
Learning culture of the Midwest.
Oh, very good.
I love culture and I love learning about people, and you know, like I've told my class, everywhere you go, people are different. The way they do things, the way they act, the way they talk. So it's been a good experience of learning about you, so I can do my job better.
Very good.
We don't have an accent here, do we?
No, not really.
Midwest, slow and plain, little slur. Very good.
Well, howdy. I'm Veronica DeSelms. I have only lived in Marion for 11 years. I'm the speech pathologist at St. Luke Hospital, and I have an 8-year-old daughter. We live out on the farm. We're in your district, so thanks for what you do. It's sometimes probably unseen, and I think that's the thing that I have really gained a lot from, is learning about more people and then seeing the unseen. There are buildings, but there's also people in those buildings, and seeing the dreams of people in those buildings and what they want Marion County to look like is just phenomenal. It's been a really eye-opening experience for me. So, and what a great way, even for the hospital setting, to know all about the county that we serve. So, been really wonderful.
Great. Ask our two youth members to speak up.
Yeah, I'm Olivia Carlson. I'm a senior at Center High School. I completed the youth program in the spring. My favorite thing has been seeing the behind the scenes of the businesses and getting to tour even more with the adult program.
I'm Anna Gonitas Vendeska, and I'm a junior at Center, and I also graduated the spring program with Olivia. And my favorite thing would just be seeing how many opportunities there are in such a small town.
Lowell.
I'm Lowell Enzi, firstborn of Dr. T.C. and Lila Enzi. He was doctor here for I don't know how long. I moved here when I was 3, so I've gone to school, kindergarten through 12th grade in Marion. I went to college in Iowa, and I worked as a school administrator in both Georgia and Colorado. So when my parents got ill health, I moved back here to work with my brother Larry, who lives out east of town with his wife Melanie. They actually live in Melanie's youth home where she grew up. So the highlights for me have been the opening up of my mind to a different definition of leadership. Being a retired school administrator, you're the principal, you're the one in charge, and most of the things you deal with are authoritative issues. So you can direct and define. And here we're talking about trying to influence the people in your organization or in your group to have everyone be a leader. That was an eye-opening approach to my way of thinking. The other thing that I've appreciated is getting to know various businesses and visiting those places, some of which I had no idea they existed in Marion County. And last but not least is the relationships that we have built with each other.
Very good. Thank you very much.
Will Lindsay for mayor. T-shirts coming soon.
County Commissioner.
Scratch the tip of the iceberg on businesses.
Yeah, that's what I was
That's
gonna
right.
say too, because
Of what's out there.
there are so many, there are so many.
Took the words right out of my mouth. To follow up on the comments from everyone, you haven't, I mean, there are so many gems in Marion County. So many entrepreneurs that have started worldwide businesses right here. Unique industries, unique businesses. And they're right next door and most of us don't even know about it. Open your eyes, see the unseen. So it's great to hear those words from each of you. Oh, now to bring it back to the real exciting theme of what does the county commission do? Tina, it looks like you've already had some handouts.
Well, I did a little chart and then we have the map, so,
Okay, you haven't done any discussion.
no, we've done no discussion.
Okay, first of all, let's look at the map. Randy and Kent, how many years ago was the conversion from 3 to 5? 6?
We're in our fourth year?
Well, they served two-year terms, so it'd be the 5th year or 6th, yeah.
Yeah. Randy and I both served on a 3-member commission, and then we expanded to 5, just not too many years ago.
So that
Redistricted the county at that time.
So the map you're looking at is the districts as they were laid out when it was converted from 3 to 5. Obviously, very challenging. You've got 2 major cities in the county, and you've got a lot of rural area. You've got some mid-sized cities. So they did the best they could at the time to separate out, so there wasn't over-influence in one district. But you can see it's kind of an interesting, when someone asks what my district is, it's kind of hard to just explain it. It's easier. Here's the map. This kind of gives you an idea. But it does split up the interests of the county. One of the advantages of going to the 5-member commission has been that 2 commissioners can actually talk to each other. With a 3-member commission, if 2 commissioners talk, it's a public meeting. So when Kent and Randy were on with 3 members, they couldn't talk to each other. If they happened to show up at a funeral or a land sale, one of them would have to.
Yeah, it was almost a conflict of interest to be in the same.
It is. There's a lot of complications you don't think about. By having.
They could talk
Yes,
at a social function about social things, but there's always a perception, well, I bet they're talking about the county, even if they're not, so.
The perception is always there that it's always county business.
Right. So there's maybe an unseen that maybe not everybody understands, that there's actually another advantage or consideration for a 5-member commission. Not only that, but it brings more ideas to the table. We have a variety of opinions. We often disagree, but we respect each other. And in my mind, the more diversity you have, the better decision you're gonna make. If everybody believes the same thing, you're looking at all your options. So,
You know, at the time that we started discussion 5-member, we were population-wise one of the smallest counties that were trying to determine whether to go to 5 members. It's kind of interesting, and since we have done that, there's been a number of counties a lot smaller than us that have now gone to 5.
right, but the 5-member brings in more ideas, more representation, and you're able, to me, have a more in-depth discussion with more ideas being brought to the table. The other handout Tina had was on the different departments. I know one of the things that was overwhelming for me when I came on 3.5 years ago was the variety. Somebody mentioned the inch deep and a mile wide. As Tina shows on the flow sheet, you've got the 5 elected offices. You have the county clerk with Ashley and the election officer, which has a tremendous responsibility in her office and has grown phenomenally over the last 10 years, and it continues each year. with election security, the rules. Then you've got all the responsibilities of the county clerk. It's a tremendous responsibility, and used to be, then on top of that, was taking care of the county commission, which is a full-time job in itself and distraction. But now the county clerk can focus on her duties. Obviously, the sheriff, there's another one with public safety. You've got not only patrolling the entire county, but you've got the jail and then the dispatch responsibilities, which I think you're gonna see this afternoon. That's another really, really good experience to see what goes on there. The county attorney, that's another one. The responsibilities just continue to explode, and our attorneys are scarce. I mean, we rural counties throughout the state, they don't have an attorney in their county. So the county attorney has to be brought in, contracted in from outside the county. It's just another critical shortage in our rural counties that we all have to deal with. The elected position of county treasurer, motor vehicle officer, a lot of responsibilities there. So the money comes into the treasurer's office and works with the county clerk on dispersing, on paying bills. And so we've got separation of duties, but oversight on both sides. Finally, register of deeds, which generally doesn't get a lot of publicity, but is probably one of the most important offices for landowners. If you buy or sell a property, you want to make sure that you've got clean title, clean records. And it's not for someone like me that makes mistakes. It's for someone that's very meticulous and makes sure every I is dotted and T is crossed, because a number of us have had issues. A little mistake can cause big problems down the road. So those are the elected offices in the county. And then under county commission, which we've just gone to the county administrator just earlier this year, and you've all become very familiar with Tina and her role. Can you imagine this county run without an administrator? And that's what it used to be. Can you imagine your school district without a superintendent, your city without a manager? The previous commissioners did a phenomenal job with the county clerk, who was Tina at that time, in keeping things going, but the administrator role helps bring it into focus. And Tina can now focus full-time on county responsibilities and not also be doing county clerk responsibilities, election responsibilities. That's a tremendous load to carry. So I'm very proud of having county administrator in place, the right person in place, and we've already seen tremendous benefits, cost savings, efficiencies. We're making, as Tina said in her visit with Lou, we're not just putting out fires. We're actually starting to have time to make plans for the future. And that's what we've got to do in Marion County. We've got to be progressive and looking future. So under that, then we've got Department on Aging, we've got the ambulance, EMS, which has been expanded. Another whole story there, where not too many years ago, Randy and I both served as volunteers on the ambulance. It was all volunteer. Started out with the funeral homes using their hearses to transport, which seems like a little conflict of interest.
Seriously?
No, that's yeah.
Yeah, that is actually
That's
true.
crazy.
Yes, that's how it started.
Hope you never got confused.
Other than throwing the person in the back of a pickup and flying to the hospital. That's how it started. Then it rolled into the progression in this, was the '70s?
The hospitals at one time had their own ambulance crew. And how many years has it been? 40 years ago? Probably 40 years ago, the hospitals came to the county and said, we can't do it. And so the county got into the ambulance business at that time. And, that's a department just continually evolves, because you've got paramedics, you've got EMTs, AEMTs, and some of them work multiple counties. And the supervision there's a lot of supervision to that, and then overseeing the equipment needs. If you can understand what a farmer pays for a new tractor, 200 horsepower tractor, it's about what it costs to put an ambulance on the road.
Then in the 80s, Joanne Canuck was a strong volunteer leader. I think there were close to 100 volunteer EMTs
Yeah,
in all the communities and first responders. Can you imagine coordinating that many volunteers, people willing to drop everything and run to help in a situation and having to keep up their training? How many years ago has it been started the first full-time crew?
Well,
10?
Dan and I was still on, so
It
it's
was
been,
before I was on the
yeah,
commission.
it's been
So it would have been,
10, at least 10 years. Yeah, you've been on 6 to 8.
I've been on it. Yeah, this is my 8th year.
8 years, so it was before that, it's had to be between 8 and 10, and the state, we've been trying to run a system, and it was failing with leadership, and employees was leaving, volunteers was leaving, and certain situations brought it to the state's attention, and they said, you got to do something. So we brought in an outside, another director from another place. He come in, looked at our system, give us some ideas, and said, I think this is what you gotta do, start a full-time system. So we started, progressed, and we've progressed from that to today. And so, but it did go from volunteer system more or less to where we have a full-time system. Now we're still catching up to provide service for the whole county.
That's that transition continues. It's harder and harder to get volunteers that can attain the level of training and be able to drop their job and run. So the county has been expanding the full-time EMT or ambulance force and paramedic force. And I have to commend again the commissioners in the past for raising the bar and having paramedics, which brings the treatment to a whole new level. In our day as volunteers, it was just packaging them up best as you go, get to the hospital as fast as you can. Now with a paramedic, you're actually getting treatment on site in the field, administering drugs to a level, but at least getting that treatment quicker, faster, prompter, and getting a better result in the end. So that the ambulance has been a tremendous evolution in the quality, and it's an important part of quality of life in Marion County.
What Kent says is just right. It's an expensive part of
It's a very expensive part.
I mean, you gotta have quality people, and it takes a good paying job for quality people to stay on board. So.
An increase in drug use, is that also a contributing factor to needing more ambulance personnel? Do we see that a lot here? Is that just where things fit on like a bigger scale, right? Like how does that affect Marion County?
It does create more calls, yes. But it does, and that's.
That'll be a very good question for the sheriff.
Okay.
Push it off on him. He sees it more directly, I think.
Yeah, I think so too.
Be better to respond. I don't want to take up your whole afternoon. County appraiser, obviously, we hear a lot about that, but we're again very fortunate to have a person that's grown from the inside and moved up to become our county appraiser. Emergency management, another department that's grown in importance, just like the disasters you see happening everywhere. We've got to be prepared, and we've got an excellent person in that role to help our communities be prepared and to respond. Health department, this has sounded like a broken record, but services and responsibilities continue to expand. We're able to provide services to our needed underserved parts of our community. Park and Lake, that is an absolute gem that you all need to enjoy and see, the Marion County Lake. Absolutely a true treasure for Marion County, and we do all we can to help support Isaac in that role. Planning and zoning, we keep hearing more and more about as we encourage people to move to Marion County. Well, they bring an expectation of, the quiet, and serene, and then you have the tractors and the feedlots and the dust. It gets to be quite a balancing act. Road and bridge, that's our biggest department. 30% of our budget goes to road and bridge. We're what? Now I can't remember the number of miles. 900, 1,200.
We got 900 and some miles of road in Marion County.
Yeah. To 180 paved. A big chunk gravel and then dirt. But sometime try driving from the northwest corner to the southeast corner of Marion County. It's an hour minimum. When Steve Hudson has a call and he's in Burns and he needs to get up to Durham, it's a tremendous amount of responsibility to take care of. So I know there's potholes, I know there's problems, but we're doing the best we can with what we got. Finally, weed, household hazardous waste, and the transfer station. The county is responsible for offering those services. We don't do the collection necessarily, but we have to be able to either have a landfill in county or transfer to a certified landfill. So that's about as fast as I can go through responsibilities of the county commission. I want to give each commissioner a chance to talk just a little bit about our personal thoughts, and then give you your chance for questions. I see the role as commissioner as a servant leader. Every one of us believe in our communities. Every commissioner, volunteers, is deeply invested in their community. I think that's part of why we've had a very successful 4 years. Because we know we can disagree, but we all know in our heart of hearts that we're trying to do the best for our community. And I don't want to bring up negatives, but at the same time, there was a dark period 4 years ago, and it was very unproductive for the county and just one person. And that's where one person can make a difference. But if you have a focus on your community, and that's what you believe, you can work together and do the best for your community. So here's my plug for election. Don't vote for one issue, vote for someone that's committed to their community. So that's my plug on the commission, and it's been an honor to serve with each of you.
David, can I add a footnote to
Sure.
the Register of Deeds office?
Yes, absolutely.
The Register of Deeds office has microfilmed all of the individual school annual reports from the time that they started until 1920. The originals are in Tabor, and that's where I used to go until the librarian had to use tape and would only bring it to me in a folder, and I couldn't touch the paper because it was so fragile. It took me, there are like 130 schools, and it took me 3 hours to do 2 schools. I thought, I'm not going to get this job done. And then somebody told me about the Register of Deeds office having all these, every single school has a report for every year listing the teachers and the students that went to that school that year. And it's on microfilm in her office, as well as all the boxes in the attic that have all the stuff that's still there. So it was like a godsend, and I could finally finish the task of listing all the teachers for each of the one-room schools in Marion County from when they started until they unified school districts in '69. So I lived in that office for about a year.
How many of you on this have any idea of, what did you say the total number of schools was?
That's 130.
That was the maximum that Marion County's had?
At any one time, there was 122.
Wow, I mean, I didn't know that, but I can remember when I was a youngster that there was still some of the old school buildings all around the whole county, but they've all a lot of them's disappeared, not all of them.
Yeah,
That's cool.
there's still a few around.
Of course, our next step is digitization. Not cheap, but it's a goal that we've been trying to work toward and slowly making a little progress.
We talked about it some.
It's something we need to do. Thank you. Sorry, Kent?
Like Dave said, community service is I think it's ingrained in everybody I've ever served with on the commission. Everyone I've ever served with on the commission started out as a city council person, school board, various boards, soil conservation, just kind of learning some of the different avenues of service, and I realize in today's life, it has become very hard for people to take that kind of time and do that. I mean, we live in a different time, a different culture. I understand that, but we can't function without people that are, that are willing to serve and commit to it. It's very easy to say, well, yeah, I'll serve on your committee or something like that, and then, I'm busy and I missed 3/4 of the meetings. It is a huge commitment. It really is. And when I first started on the committee, I thought, what the heck did I get myself into? We did not have an administrator. We were way more involved in daily things than we needed to be. We had to convince our constituents, you don't have to call us for everything. We have different departments, and trying to educate people. But our role has really changed immensely since we have an administrator. I mean, it took away that daily element. We're more now with collaborating on and spending on time on developing budgets and administering budgets, and dealing with department heads to a certain extent, and so that it's probably helped us to become more vision oriented than daily business oriented in this last year. And hats off to Tina. We were fortunate. We had a lot of trust in a person that we could hire in-house. So, I won't say it made the job easier, but it made it to where you can focus more on things that you initially thought you were going to focus on, and not driving out to some bridge that's 15 miles away to look at something that you tell me what's wrong kind of thing. So go ahead, Randy.
I've been very fortunate to be a county commissioner and do what Kent said, what Dave said, and it was. He was very involved. I wanted to know every one of my department heads personally. I mean, just talk to him. I want to see, if I see him on the road, I want to be able to talk to him. If I see him at a meeting, I want to talk to him, see what's happening in their department, see what's going on. Now it is that person's job over there now to do that, but yet we still don't distance ourselves, because if they see us, we want to talk to them. I mean, that's it. I'm going to tell you, one of my first things when I come on 20 years ago was the sheriff come to me and says, well, there was a Lynn decision that if I want more people, I can get more people. That was out in Lynn County. And there was a ruling by the government or by the court system that they could do that if they could get enough people to run their system. Well, in that time, in the first few years, couple years there, our jail sat right here beside us. The building sat right here where this parking lot is. And we had the old bars. We had you walk through. The dispatchers dispatching, the dispatcher would walk through the jail and look at the prisoners, and there was not but 3.5 to 4 feet of hallway. They could reach right through and touch you. And we had a lot of ladies dispatching and stuff at that time. So the state kept coming down. We had too many people. We would have like 19 and 20 in a jail that was supposed to have 12 or 8. And so they come down and made a decision that you're going to have to do something, Marion County. So two of the commissioners, the sheriff, Lee Becker, and his assistant, we all went to jail school, went to Colorado. We tried passing a jail. When we went to this jail school, taught us how to build a jail to make money. And so we brought it back to our constituents here in Marion County. They said, no, you're not going to build a jail. There's other counties that's doing that, but we don't want you. We want you. They turned the first vote down, but some of the naysayers that really spoke out, they come back and said, hey, we want to help you build a jail for our county. This is what they helped build, this thing right over here. They give us guidance, and we put this jail together. It's more costly than at the time it was only $2 million, I believe, less than $2 million, I think. And we put it on a tax incentive or tax set.
You funded it with sales tax.
Sales tax, there we go.
Yep.
And it turned out that it was supposed to pay off in like 12 or 14 years, and it paid off in 8 with sales tax in our county. So that everybody that bought something in our county helped pay for the jail. And it's now coming up on 12 to 14 years. We're replacing air conditioners and things like that now over there. But anyway, yeah, that was one of my first jobs I got to do, from help go through that. Second of all these department heads, I'm looking for a department head that was here when I started. There's none. I don't know what that means, but that was a pleasure. We get to get people like her. We've had 2 or 3 in her department since I've been here. In every department, road and bridge, ambulance, appraisers, it's been fun to see this county leave us, one person leave and another person come and start and learn. So I've had a great experience. I love to be around with this. I've probably done my term now because I got beat in the primary, but I'm going to run a write-in. And so a write-in campaign for my area, I think, is worth it. If the public like to see me again, they can write my name in. So that's my speech. But folks, I appreciate you wanting to learn Marion County, because it is. How many of us just don't have a clue what goes on up in, well, the far corner of your area, Dave, is people up there, they have their own church up there and things that they attend and stuff. And I'm down Peabody, and I never knew that until I got to be a county person. So, hey, have a great day. I'm glad to get to see you all.
One thing, Randy had a little advantage when he was working for the gas company, because he saw the entire county.
That's true.
Everybody's backyard.
I traveled the county. 80% of the county I got to see. So yes, that helped me. Yes.
He knew every road.
You're Carlson?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know which one you're from, but I bet you I get to know someone. I'm playing baseball with him or softball. So yeah.
All right, well, we've gone through quite a bit of time on our side.
We have plenty of time. I did want to mention that this building, we also have the district court,
Yes.
which is the upper floor. And a lot of people don't know that they are not part of the county government structure. So they are employees of the 8th Judicial District, are employees of the state of Kansas. But yet we are required to house them. And so we have that relationship with them where they're kind of in their own world doing their own thing, but yet we interact. And Jan Helmer's the clerk of the district court. She's the longest standing. We count them as a department head. She's the longest standing department head here right now. So
They are in our
I
budget.
think I'm second.
They are in our budget.
Yes,
We-
part of their
part of
budget
it,
comes
yeah.
from us. So
I thought it was interesting when David was talking a little bit ago about, several years back, you had division on the board, and you had some issues because people were going different directions, which tied in with what we heard earlier today from the superintendents when they were talking about their school boards need to have shared values, shared goals, all be pulling in the same direction, because if you guys are pulling different ways, you pull the board apart. You also mentioned earlier how important it is to have 5 commissioners, because part of the beauty of that is everybody brings more opinions and more ideas and options to the table. So I think that's something to remember going forward if you guys are in a leadership position or on a board. It's important to have a common goal and a shared vision and be going the same direction, but at the same time, it's important to bring your ideas and opinions in, even if they differ from somebody else's, to see what gels and works out best.
Jared hit it right on the head. All of us are pulling for better Marion County. We're all pulling for better Marion County. Some of us have a different opinion on how to get there or how to approach that, and that's part of the beauty of it, because I've always lived on borrowed money, and part of my theme is if you live on faith, well, that can get you in trouble. Kent fortunately has the banking background, and he's always watching, to be careful, be prudent, and that's important to have that balance.
Cash is king. Remember that. Liquidity.
Especially right now when you can get 5% interest on it.
Yeah, we have done well with that, actually.
And I have never been out of debt and never will be. But I'm moving forward.
I think that must be something when a banker's born. Do you know that cash is king? Because everyone I talk to, they all talk about that. Cash is king.
But it's absolutely critical for a public entity to remain solvent and prudent. We can't overextend, and that's where I may pull a little this way, and
A lot of people may not understand this, but we can't go down to the county and apply for a line of credit to operate on.
At the bank,
Bank.
yeah, we can't
At the
go to the
bank.
bank.
We can't do that, like private business can. So we have to develop a budget that actually we can administer.
And that, it's hard for a lot of people to understand when they see the annual budget report. Oh my goodness, there's all this money. Well, we have to finance for 6 months before the next revenue comes in. And then you have to be prepared, well, what happens if that revenue doesn't come in, which the state has caused problems for you in the past, and you're out here stranded and you can't borrow money. So how do you keep providing services? How do you keep your employees? How do you keep, you have to have reserves. They have to be prudent reserves, but you have to have reserves.
I guess I lied. There's one person that has been here since I started, and he's the auditor, Scott Lloyd.
Oh.
He worked with the firm, Scott Lloyd, what's the Swindle?
Swindle, Jansen, Hawk, and Lloyd.
There you go. He worked for them for 30-some years.
Bless you, sounds like he's.
And he can tell you when he started for this firm that he was a young auditor or whatever, and I tell you, he knows our county. And we've kept him all these years, and he likes to come to Marion County, but he also can tell you Marion County. And that's been a great help to learn what Kent said, you gotta have cash. He drives that you must have cash to operate 6 months or more. If in case something happens in the world, they want cash to operate on 6 months, this county to operate on. So, yeah, I did lie. Excuse me for fibbing.
What I've learned to really enjoy about Scott is he brings so much perspective from other counties. He sees what's going on in other counties, maybe mistakes that they've made that, just to keep in the back of your mind, or things that have worked. And that's what we have to be open. We can't just be in our little world with our blinders on. We have to look and see what works, what doesn't work. It doesn't always work for us, but at least look at the options. Anything else, Tina?
I just was gonna mention that the county commissioners all also serve on other boards that, like we're in conjunction with other, counties on. So, for example, juvenile detention board, we have a board made up of representatives from multiple counties. And so we have a mental health advisory committee. Those are outside agencies, the Community Development Disability Organization, CDDO. We have a county commissioner on that board. We have a county commissioner on the South Central Kansas Economic Development District Board.
Who works with
That's a lot of-
on Main Street.
So there's just a lot of other things that these commissioners do that the public doesn't probably even know, but representing Marion County in these larger regional kind of ways as well. So
And those have all been good partnerships or regional partnerships where counties work together, and it's each of us, I think, serve at least one or two between the five. So that's the other thing with 3 members, you're on 3 other outside committees.
And on the 3 versus 5, I was here when we had 3 commissioners. And I'm here when we have 5 commissioners, and it is a shift in how the meetings, the interaction, and the ideas that are brought to the table. But it's also been fun for me to see, because you can put assign 2 commissioners to a committee to work on something, and they can do that and not be in violation of any open meetings. They can work with the group, and it doesn't, and it's great. I mean, that has been really helpful, I think, for building projects, things like that, so.
All right, let's turn it over to you. What questions do you have for us?
Or complaints, you can.
I don't think that's why they're here.
So sorry.
Get those all the time.
Do these names mean anything? I mean, I've always looked at this and going, I don't.
There's a story behind every township.
Okay.
And it's
So,
on my
There's a book called The History of Marion County. It has an orange cover, I think, in the clerk's office. I think Register of Deeds has one. It has a lot of interesting information, so that's a good thing to look at.
Now, there's a story behind every township.
But we don't know them.
Not offhand.
Some of the names were like original settlers.
Sure.
And center is because it was Marion Township, center of the county at the time, I believe. So,
So the reservoir does not fall under its government? I know we take care of the lake, Marion County Lake, but we don't do anything with the reservoir.
That's federal.
That's federal. Okay.
Built in the sixties.
Yes.
How would you guys sum up the purpose of the leadership program? Is it to improve economic development in Marion County, or is it more to build future county commissioner candidates? How would you guys sum it up?
I got, first of all, I'd say give people in the county an opportunity to learn. First, learn about the county, and then second, learn leadership skills. Whether they use those in their personal life, whether they use them in their home community, whether they use them in their county or state, move on. But in leadership program, Marion County has had 40 years. And then we went through a period where we didn't have it. We just restarted it 3 years ago. So there was kind of a dry spell in between. But the early program, I was in the class of 96. There were a lot of people that, a lot of what you're saying today, got to see things I had no idea about in Marion County, got to meet people that I still keep in contact with.
David Crowput, he told us this morning that he was in the 88.
And then he went on to the state of Kansas leadership committee.
so I just am curious because I wasn't involved, but is the program that we're doing now similar to the program back then, or is it a lot different?
It's evolved. It's not a lot different, but the old program was, I guess you could say, self-funded by the county itself. So it focused more on visiting places in the county, talking to people in the county. The program that's been reestablished actually there's another entity providing funding. I'm sorry, you know all the acronyms.
The Central Kansas Community Foundation.
Thank you. They're providing the funding for the program you're involved in. And one of their strengths is they want leadership training. And that's the Kansas Leadership Foundation, which is, to me, a great asset, a great part, where before we didn't have those type of trainings. It was more just a visit and kind of learn on your own, where you have a little more structured approach and maybe provide some more leadership skills. So that would be different from the original program.
Okay. I was just curious how it used to be.
So is that kind of roundabout to the mission?
Yeah. Are those leadership skills applied in any way, or are they just kind of general?
I think some of them are the examples that you were working on are applied. The class actually gets assignments. In fact, they were reviewing some of their assignments just before we started today.
Yeah, I mean, they don't, the idea is that they would gain some skills and some confidence in what they already know and the sphere they're already in to be able to practice leadership and to make progress on some of those things that are concerns, where we may or may not get the opportunity to work on that exact problem within our community or within our sphere. The class as a group kind of talks through some of those and learn some skills on how to make progress.
We also have the ability to take it up to advanced levels through classes at Wichita through the Kansas Leadership Center. So this kind of sets the foundation for some of the basic leadership skills, kind of gives them some of the tools for that, lets them network, interact with people, tour a lot of the county businesses to see what's out there and what's available to us as residents. And then if they want to advance the actual leadership portions, they can do that through the
Taking
center at
additional
Wichita.
classes, so.
And then solve community problems in the future?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the
If
idea.
I can actually say something too. Yeah, something I've noticed is, although a lot of us didn't even know each other or communicate before, when we started kind of diving deeper into leadership and some of the conflicts that maybe we're all kind of facing, from town to town they're so similar, right? And they might look a little different and there's different names involved, but I think each small community is dealing with the same problems. And so not only are we more aware of that and feel more supported, but being able to catch with Lou, who might know how that worked in Marion or what worked for her, or she knows somebody that can help me, makes us all a better leader too. And like that's one of the big things I've taken from it.
The worst feeling is to feel like you're all alone.
Yeah, and what the heck am I gonna do next, right?
What am I gonna do? If you have someone you can reach out to who's maybe been through it, has an idea, you're not alone. And you're not. Because like you said, all communities are struggling with one problem or another. And to know that you can turn to someone and ask for advice or, hey, what have you ever had this problem? What did you do or what were your thoughts? It's a network.
I filed my first time 20 years ago for this position. And one person told me, said, well, you're gonna get to meet this certain group of people in your area. And I said, what's the big deal? And she said, oh, you're gonna get to meet them. I said, well, I don't understand. I said, don't we all put our pants on the same way? And she said, oh, I guess we do, but they're different people. I never found them to be different, but anyway. It's just, you know, getting to know the people. Getting to know people. Yeah.
I actually have another question.
Sure.
We touched on it a little bit with the superintendents earlier, and so just from the perspective as a school board member, you know, we talked about how we make decisions with all the information we have, and a lot of times, not all of that information is accessible to the public to save sensitive information from people as it should be. And so with that, you know, I've found that it's hard because you feel passionately about the choices you're making and you're voting on, but you don't always get to defend those choices. And so just as someone that's been in that game a little longer, like what has worked for you to cope with that? What are some of your responses when talking with the public about stuff like that? And like, how do you deal with it?
Right now, wind farms want to expand from Marion, Nighthawk east, or west. When that farm was passed, our biggest opposition started from Nighthawk, going over to Indigo, up between and through there. So that was a lot of opposition, not directly in this wind farm here. There's a few, but not much. But what you're saying is now that they're wanting to go over there, I've got some large landowners calling me that they're interested in getting a chance. They don't know that they'll take it, but they'd like the chance. But yet we have a large majority of people coming in, and we got to put on a moratorium. And we're moving into a highly more populated area than this farm or the Tampa farm up there is. And so there's two sides of the story in my area that I've got to answer to. The people that don't want it, the people that would like the chance, whether they're going to take it or not. That's a real tough question. I'd like to see everybody have a chance, but yet if we pass one thing one way and we're in a highly populated area, you know, there's a lot of people affected by the wind farm. So that's tough to, it's a tough
So just kind of maybe when people approach you about that or they're angry about it or, you know, like how do you calm them? How do you reassure them? How do you...
One of my first callers, he says, I don't want to be in your spot.
Yeah,
I said,
exactly,
well,
right? And I think that's important.
I agree, but yet I've got to try figuring out something that works for people. And the biggest take back from me is when we voted on this farm here, we asked, is this your footprint? Is this large enough? Is this what you want? Is this all you want? We got a yes from them, but then they've sold to another company, and this company come in and they want to expand. So it's tough to, but you got to, if you're not a leader, you got to figure out how to answer their question, but yet not lie to them, because
Right.
I'd like to see them have the chance.
Yeah.
But yet, if I see so many people that's already been involved with against the wind farm, plus more people showing up, like the city of Gossel that's been up here and stuff, so we have to take that into consideration too. Both people in this district, or in the district that I serve. So
You were talking about making decisions with sensitive information. Were you introduced to the Kansas open meeting law at all?
Not through the leadership class, but I
I
mean,
mean,
individually I am.
There is only certain instances where we as a board can go into executive session.
Right. Legally.
One being personnel, the other being attorney-client privilege, or acquisition of real estate. Other than that, there is no reason for not giving the public all the information they need to where they can decipher what we're trying to do.
No personnel information, period.
That's coming back to sensitive information. That's the one I probably get the most questions on is personnel on sensitive information. I say, I'm sorry, I can't comment. That's it. Yeah, that's it. I'm not gonna comment.
And for some people, that's not gonna be
It's not gonna be enough,
adequate
but I'm
response.
sorry,
And
that's,
some people.
I'm not gonna risk a lawsuit
Yeah.
to the constituents. That's what we have to remember, and you have to remember in your position is it's not just you.
Right.
It's the entire body and the people you represent. That's another comment, sorry, something shiny, so I'm gonna jump out. I have no power as an individual commissioner. None of us do. The only action can be taken is with 3 commissioners. That's it. I mean, I have no authority to make any decisions on my own. None of us do. We have to come to a consensus before we can make a decision. It has to be done in this room, yeah. That's the only way a decision can be made. So that to me, that's something to remember, and that's part of why we work together. We tried to come to a consensus.
Thank you.
Okay. Come on, there's some other questions.
Oh, you might want a sounding board. My wife's my sounding board. If you have a partner, that's my sounding board sometimes, or a good person in a position, like an administrator on something that's going on, that you can sound off with them.
I've used Tina quite a few times.
Yeah, I think I just felt conflicted because I'm a very open person and I feel like you, it's important that the public has all the information they need as well, especially when you're defending some tough decisions. But, dealing with a school district, it's like, well, keeping the personal information of that 6-year-old student is more important to me than being right.
Yes. You hit it on the head. Yeah. Absolutely.
And I think sometimes people just don't understand that.
Well,
I
some
mean,
people
if
just
you
like
can
get
approach,
happy.
some people
We're
don't
not ever
care.
gonna get away from that.
Right, but if you can approach it that way,
Yeah.
let them know that you hear them, but then say, this is why I can't.
There's
Then
times
it helps,
have to pull the plug.
so.
Had a conversation yesterday. It started out good.
Oh, no.
Three attempts to bring it back, and I couldn't get through, so I hung up. I'm sorry.
Darn.
It's just the way it is. They'll be calling back. But as long as the discussion is reasonable and respectful, you gotta listen.
Respectful too, I think, is a big keyword there,
Yes.
right? Because
Yes.
it's all in how you're approached also.
Yes.
You're still a human.
Yes. Yes. But you gotta listen. But there does come a point.
And well, that's true. And then learning, it's most of the time when somebody comes at you that way, it's about them. It's not about
Absolutely,
you.
it
And
is.
trying to keep that from, affecting your you, and distancing it and recognizing it for what it is, and then being able to move through it. That's just a lifelong learning thing.
I need to tell the story about the customer service lady.
Yeah, I
Yes,
think
I
you
think-
do.
Uh-oh.
I think you should. This is the perfect opportunity.
All right.
We had everybody has complaints about everything. And I heard the story one time that this company decided to hire this lady to be their customer service rep. And her name was Helen Wade. So if you had any problems, you can go to Helen Wade.
This has been a lively class.
This is us on our best behavior. We haven't seen anything. As professional as we can.
I saw most of these the other day. What have you learned from the rest of these people?
From my classmates, you mean?
Yes.
That they're, it's okay to be outgoing.
So far.
Well, we are outgoing.
Some of the rambunctiousness comes from over here where you would kind of expect it. Occasionally it comes over here in left field.
We're a bad influence.
I know you keep them apart, cause they're separate, so.
Oh,
She's gonna be my campaign manager.
I am.
You got a good one.
I
Enzy
think
for mayor.
as small as the group was, this is definitely, I think, the liveliest.
Yeah.
It didn't start that way
No,
the
it
first
didn't.
session or two, but by the
No.
third session, it was getting pretty interesting.
Yeah.
It's been a fun class.
Marion County will never be the same.
That's great.
You know, there's power when people come together.
Yeah, there is.
There's magic.
And like so many
Very
different
magic.
like ages and occupations represented, and we all just kind of seem to click in that
Honestly,
way.
we
Yeah.
have. Yeah.
Andy, do you have something to say?
I'm sure he has lots to say.
Have a great day, this is a good day, so. No, I, seriously, if you get a chance to take a leadership role, and I didn't know what I would do once I got to be it, but I started as what Kent said, a city council member, then I went to mayor. And then I decided there was, in our district, we needed probably something different than what I was seeing as leadership, and I thought, well, I'll put my name in, try it. And so don't be scared to try something. Just go out and try. If you fail, try again. Don't be scared to fail.
Yeah, cause you know what fail means. First attempt in learning.
Okay.
Oh, I like that.
You never succeed if you don't fail.
Correct.
You gotta fail to succeed. Any other questions? When is your next?
2:30.
2:30? I just have a couple interesting little tidbits just for thought. I found them very interesting. A couple years ago, we issued a bond for road improvements, and in that process, Tina had to put together a summary for the county, for the people buying the bonds. Two things I thought were interesting were the top property taxpayers and the top employers in the county at the time. So I just share that information. It's not privileged, I'm not gonna get in trouble. But the number one taxpayer in Marion County is the Keystone Pipeline.
When it was up and running.
But it came off, so the state had a 10-year tax abatement on it. They didn't pay any proper taxes, but it came on 2 years ago, which was the year we needed it, Marion County needed it bad because coming out of COVID, inflation, wage increases. They paid, and this was that first year, 2022, $2,580,000 in property tax, one entity. The second largest property taxpayer is Union Pacific Railroad, 1.4 million. Second one is the Burlington Northern Railroad, 1.25 million. Evergy, 1.2 million. You can kind of see a theme here. I mean, we're talking commercial and railroads, pipelines. In the top 10, 3 are pipelines. It's interesting, the valuation on pipelines is set by the state. And it's not only a factor of the value of the pipeline, but the product going through it.
All of those that you read are public utilities. All that value for all of those entities is set by the state.
Yeah. So the county doesn't set it.
Yeah.
But those were the top 1, 2, 3, 4. The fifth one, if you count pilot payments, would be the wind farms. Between the two, they pay the county $500,000 a year in property tax. And then they pay additional revenue to the school districts, $180,000 to Center, Hillsborough, and I'm gonna guess, I don't know the number for the south one.
That should start this year.
I was gonna say it's gonna start up, yeah.
Plus the landowners who can then return that money to the local economy.
Right. But I'm just from the property, when you complain about your house property tax bill, remember the pipeline's paying $2.5 million. So we we as landowners, residents, ag landowners, need to understand that there's a huge amount of our expenses in Marion County being paid by these large commercial entities.
Just out of curiosity, out of the top 10, is there one individual, one farmer, or one landowner? They're all corporations?
So the top 10, Keystone, Union Pacific, Burlington Northern, Evergy, Mid-America Pipeline, Scully Partners.
That's landowner.
That's the largest landowner.
Landowner. I wouldn't call it an individual.
They're a corporation. It's
Bought out like Wilson?
No.
Solely
I'm
land.
confused.
There's a whole history
Oil and gas.
behind William Scully came down the Rock Island Railroad, which was UP.
Santa Fe.
A wealthy Englishman in 1890, took the Rock Island Railroad out of Kansas City, came down through this part of the country and bought land adjacent to the railroads. Farmland, grassland, and
I forget, there's a book written on it. He bought a large chunk, probably 100,000 acres?
It was close to that. It's come down some because the reservoir at one time took quite a bit. I know there's still over 50,000.
And then they also have a large holding in Nebraska.
But they're in several states. Their office is in Hillsboro, right across from the dollar store.
It's interesting, you have a chance, it's actually a good part of Marion County leadership history, maybe to incorporate. There's actually a good book I've written about William Scully.
William Scully's landlord or something.
Because there's regulations about being able to track that out, right? To preserve like agricultural land. Like if he owns that much land, you can't sell 40, does it have to be 40 acres for?
It used to be,
They can,
tried 40, but it's for a house.
well,
For anybody, yeah.
He doesn't follow any different rules than any other land.
no,
We follow the same rules as any other.
they offer long-term leases to their leaseholders.
Was that ground that was leased, given to the railroad to sell? Or does anybody know whether that, or was that straight from the government?
He had to buy it.
Yeah, I know, but was
From the railroad. Good.
From the railroad or from the government?
Read the book.
Okay.
That's a
Railroad was in when he bought it.
Somebody's Googling it right now. Come on. I have all the answers. But it's a really interesting story. It really is.
But I think one thing that Dave was telling you is I've learned more since I've been sitting here than even I did as city of Peabody, doing either as mayor or anything, but business. Business pays back a lot of what you're talking about.
There's another unseen, is how much commercial property pays back. To finish out the list, Scully was number 6. Southern Star Pipeline was number 7. So that's 3 pipelines in the top 7. Atmos Energy is number 8. Hillsboro, that's the container services, they're number 9. And Cooperative Grain and Supply is number 10. And the number 1 was 2.58 million. Number 10 was 165,000. I found that very interesting, and it gave me a more appreciation. You know, sometimes we complain about different entities, but you think about how much they contribute to, and that's, you know, not only counties, but you're talking schools, fire districts, all your smaller entities throughout the county. So let's look at the major employers, and again, this is 2022. Circle D Corporation was number 1.
Wow.
That's the statistic.
Circle D?
They run 3 shifts.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh, Circle D.
Circle D.
Circle
More
D.
than schools and the
That's a
hospital.
smaller and a smaller footprint, but
That's the largest employer?
That,
He said he only has 26 employees.
well, and again, that was 21, 22.
well, and this information was from the bond people had pulled it together from Department of Commerce. So I don't know if there is something else included with that.
Okay. Well, the next one makes more sense. Marion County government is number 2. That one I think we can all. Yeah, Circle D, but I know there are several Hillsboro businesses here that are in the top 10. So let's just say top 10. USD 408 is right there. Barkman Honey, St. Luke Hospital, Hillsboro Community Hospital, Tabor College, Bethesda Home, Container Services, Hillsboro Industries.
I don't know on that Circle D one.
Other than Circle D, we'll accept the other 9.
Yeah.
6.
But I didn't, I wouldn't have known any different because I didn't know, I'd never been there until this year.
Smaller.
That's the first time I've ever been there.
Hillsborough Industries, I could see.
Yeah.
But to prove how some of our industries have grown, back in, what year was that? It was in the 90s. Other than the school district, Hillsborough and Marion School District, the largest employer in Marion County was John Mansville and McPherson. So that does show that some of our kind of mid-sized and larger businesses have done well.
There's a lot of,
That I think what he means is that
lived here.
people that lived here were leaving to go.
Understand.
More people were working at that one
Driving-
company
driving.
than any business was employing here.
and we do for that, McPherson has a tremendous industrial complex.
Pfizer alone.
Oh, you think back in what you're bringing back is in the 60s. There was 4 carloads of people going to Wichita to the airplane factories. Not just Beach, Boeing, Cessna, Learjet. I don't know. There was 4 of them, I think. But anyway, we had 4 carloads of people going to Wichita every day. Carpools.
Yep. I thought I was one of them.
In our area is going to Heston.
Heston, then next.
A lot of
Heston.
welders,
Yes.
farmers would go there, work all winter.
Yes.
Anyway, I just thought those were some kind of interesting things to think about in the county, but you gotta focus the importance of commercial property and then the largest employers, generally health, school districts. And Marion County just isn't a stronghold for large industrial manufacturing. We've got important ones. I don't want to diminish, but we just don't have the draw of like a McPherson with Board of Public Utilities. That makes a huge difference there.
So those companies gravitate toward the interstates.
Sure.
And don't feel like if people don't have questions and you guys are good, we still have some other things to do too, so we can work that in. I mean, it's good that we're having the discussion and we can have it as long as you want, not rushing, but don't feel like you have to fill it, so.
That was the last I had, so.
Okay. That's
We're not holding anybody hostage.
Yeah, we're not.
Except for David.
Anybody else have any questions?
Any other? And Dave Crowfoot had a doctor's appointment and Jonah Gehring had a business commitment he had to be at. They both would have loved to be here. Both very committed to their communities and volunteer work. So I just really appreciate the commitment. The people at this table, all the way around the table, their commitment to volunteering and community service.
Right. Did you want to adjourn or?
I move to adjourn. Second. 2 seconds. Commissioner Dahl can do it. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed nay. Motion carried 3-0. We are adjourned. Thank you all for your time commitment to be in the